If you asked me who I wanted to be when I was 6, I would have probably told you I wanted to be a fashion designer. This was inspired by my strange knack for designing and my fashion designer mom, of course. If you asked me again when I was 10, I would playfully tell you I wanted to be a doctor, probably a heart surgeon even. I was of course brainwashed by my mom. My answer would again change when I was 16, a severely depressed and lonely teenager who only wanted to read, write, and draw. I was actually a social scene repellent. By then, I will tell you I wanted to be an author. You wouldn't believe, but at 18, I decided against everyone's wishes I would become a psychologist instead. I was so determined, I ended up pursuing a whole degree in psychology. Imagine the shock when I suddenly decided I wanted to learn crocheting in 2020. It was then that my decades-long dream to be a fashion designer that has been long buried became unearthed. Without my mom's influence nearby, I spiraled to catch up with all the time that I missed. It was not long before I decided that I will buy a mini sewing machine from Takealot so I can teach myself. In January 2022, I sewed my first sewing project. My mom taught me to draw the pattern. I had to force her, of course. From there on, I was determined to learn pattern drafting and sewing on my own, because you would imagine how against this new hobby my mom was. My interest was only on designing clothes, and by then I was working on both crochet and fabric, and I was indeed getting really good, actually way faster than you would imagine. I always joke and say that God knew that I was not going to be allowed to go to a fashion school. I was not even going to have the courage to go, and He taught me Himself, which is quite such a beautiful thing, don't you think? To digress, I was never interested in jewelry making until I read a book called Lock and Key by Sarah Dessen that ignited my love for jewelry making. There was this one specific character called Harriet who was a jewelry designer with her cute little shop at the mall, and I admired her so much. By now you have picked up that I am an impulsive hobbyist. So of course, I had to learn jewelry making too. My first jewelry after reading the book was a key charm necklace inspired by one in the book. After that, I drew a bunch of key designs. I have proof of this shenanigans. I was obsessed, okay? In April, I had this impulsive urge to open an IG account where I would strictly share my work, and I named it Story Meets Reality, and that account grew so fast, which encouraged me a lot. I didn't really know by then, but I was slowly establishing my brand. As an art nerd, I wanted to tell a story with my art. After all, I am a storyteller at heart. I also knew my brand wouldn't end with clothes and jewelry, so the common ground was to name the brand Story Meets Reality, which later I shortened to SMR by Khuthie. In August, I decided to prepare to launch my brand, and in September, I finally launched the brand that is so dear to my heart, to the world, which was followed by my first jewelry collection called Once Upon a Spring. That year in December, I managed to showcase my designs at a fashion show, and I was so proud of myself. I was finally doing it, and my mom had become my biggest friend. She loves my jewelry so much. During that time, I was also severely struggling mentally because personally I was going through some stuff, obviously, but I also knew that as much as I was enjoying being a brand owner, I needed a job, which I had not been successful at getting. Running a brand requires a lot of financial investment, and I wanted my brand to be known for its quality design. So even though I was excited to launch my back to school collection and the winter collection, I had to put those plans to a halt so I could balance out my finances. I also understood that as a self-taught fashion designer, I've been moving too fast, and there were areas where I tentatively needed to take time to learn. So in 2023, I took half a year to educate myself, and it was so hard to be a designer who was not designing and launching. I felt as if there were people watching me, and I was so nervous about not being able to operate my business. Behind the scene, I was also preparing to launch a long-awaited fashion collection. This one is quite dear to me. I was so nervous I wouldn't be able to execute it well. It was so beautiful to finally realize my time to learn has paid off, and seeing my story behind this collection come to reality was a full circle moment. I finally launched Cottage and Spring collection on the second week of September, and aren't these designs so cute? If you ask me again who I want to be, I'll probably tell you that I don't know. I just want to get to a point where I'm not fighting every day to survive, but I'm actually living, thriving, I hope I'm not being cliche, but I honestly just want to thrive in the art and the work that I'm doing.